afternoon, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. It is Monday, July 24th, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have a bear break in Bitcoin and had a slight lean in that direction. Definitely not conviction and confidence, as the bulls did keep holding support. But for me, probability shifted when we had the daily bounce reject right off of 382 retracement, which then put the bear flag on the table. So at this point, the bears have control of the shorter term trends and the bulls have control of the longer term trends. So that's where a lot of traders get confused. So right now we've got a monthly uptrend with little higher lows and higher highs along the way. We've got a weekly uptrend, but we've got a daily downtrend, 4-hour downtrend, hourly downtrend, and the bears are in full control of the short term. We've got an hourly stair-step drop with a lower high every day for the last bunch of days. So where do we stand from here? Bigger picture, what's the target? Now that the bears have some short-term control, I'm watching number one, weekly EMA 12 was the first target, which we're now at, but I'm also watching this uptrending support line. And bulls have to be a bit cautious, because if we were to bounce off this uptrending support line yet again, which aligns with about 28, right around 28,000. It's a potential rising wedge. And this is one that I've just been keeping a very loose eye on recently. But into the end of the year, this is a pattern that I'm watching. Again, I'm not acting on these trends. I'm not going to buy if we get to the uptrend support line. This, for me, is a visual guide to be watching for potential clues into the end of the year. So bears in control, not close to daily oversold. We did get to 4-hour and hourly oversold. The most likely result of the next bounce will be a 4-hour lower high. We'll watch the retracement size. It's not a ton of follow through, but we certainly triggered a lot of stops, and it happened all in one 5-minute candle. And that, in my opinion, is a coordinated, all right, bears, let's take out this support, and then the stops trigger to force it down to that extreme. And now it's just a question of how long do bears maintain the 4-hour and hourly downtrends. So the most likely scenario for me is a weekly higher low compared to 24.7. 24.7, there's a lot of space for that to form. We can watch our retracement size as well to help determine probabilities. Right now, retracement is about 40% of the bull move up from June. And we know that if we drop 50% beyond, then we create the space for a potential weekly lower high to be the result of the next bounce. So bears in control of the short term, bulls still have control of the longer term, and watching to see how that sorts itself out over the next couple of weeks. The FOMC is this Wednesday at 2 p.m. The market is anticipating a very likely 25 basis point rate hike, and that is priced in a good bit, but we can anticipate some volatility on Wednesday. We have the dollar seeing a pretty decent bounce, and this is definitely adding some downward pressure on Bitcoin. The dollar's bounce at this point is approaching 50% retracement. So we'll keep an eye on the dollar, but really it's just the daily and 4-hour downtrend at this point. Talked about in the last live stream how we were likely to remain in this tightening 12-hour channel over the weekend. We bounced off support on Saturday, we rejected from resistance on Sunday, and then we rolled over early Monday morning, this morning, into that bear break. So I personally have no interest looking long into weakness. If I'm going to be looking long, I need to have a level established where I say, that's either the weekly high or low, or I'm wrong, and stop out. So at a bare minimum, I need a 4-hour trend change to shape up to the bulls. And if that happens, then I can say, okay, maybe I'll want to make a play for that weekly high or low. But with where we stand in this moment, I have no interest looking long right now. It's essentially, okay, back to patiently watching and seeing how much follow through can the bears put together here. And this bear move is in the face of no weakness in the S&P 500 and NASDAQ. Here's the S&P 500, daily bull flag, testing 52-week highs. NASDAQ is slightly weaker, but still a daily uptrend. So no meaningful weakness in the broader market. And so keeping that in mind as well, if we do see meaningful weakness, if we do see weekly consolidation in the broader market, likely to add some further downward pressure into Bitcoin. On this drop, the Bitcoin dominance chart, still not doing a whole lot. Again, when the dominance chart is sideways, it means altcoins and Bitcoin are doing the same thing. Bitcoin is leading the way down on this drop, but we're also not breaking the lows here. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still a sideways range for the last week and a half. There's plenty of altcoins that are down more than Bitcoin. There's some altcoins that are up right now. Look at Doge. Doge standing out. We'll talk about Doge in just a minute. Crypto stocks, weekly inside bar bear breaks. Again, with no follow through. We keep breaking support without much follow through in these crypto stocks. So solid bounce. And you look at the relative strength here. MARA has been bouncing for 4 hours, and Bitcoin is still in an hourly stair-step drop where we're not bouncing at all. We had a little 15-minute bounce. And we look at Riot and compare. Again, same thing. Scouting an hourly lower high on Riot and MARA sooner rather than later, but not as weak as Bitcoin. Here's Coinbase, bouncing all morning. Daily EMA 12 support. So looking at these charts for the crypto stocks, I don't see any major red flags. Which, again, I'm scouting weekly higher lows all over the place. I'm scouting a Bitcoin weekly higher low, and I'm absolutely scouting MARA, Riot, and Coin weekly higher lows. The question will be, is it a weekly bear or bull flag? What's the retracement size? And so being a bit patient, watching the next couple of days, but I know bigger picture, I am scouting weekly higher lows. Same thing with these stocks. I'm not going to be entering into weakness for a weekly higher low on these names. I want to see a level to play off of so I know what position size that I can use to have a certain amount of allocated risk. And that's key. If I'm looking at Bitcoin and I'm scaling in, and I make an entry and an entry, and I've already made one entry, let's say, where did my stop go? Is my stop 24/7? That's way far away. I would rather, and this is a big shift in my style. Back in the volatility of 2017, I'm scaling into extreme moves. This is not an extreme move, but I would scale into those extreme moves with higher risk and higher reward. These days, I want a level to play off of, so I can say, if this level breaks, I stop out, and I will lose this much. So my position size, I only want to risk X dollars, so I'll make my position size this. And it's a piece of the puzzle that allows you to establish those trade game plans a bit more clearly. And again, that's a trading style that I am doing more so, where as opposed to scaling into the free fall, I'll do something like, the stair-step pattern. Where a stair-step pattern, just going to J and J because this is the last one that comes to mind for me for a swing trade, but it was a weekly stair-step. I enter long on the bull break. I know my stop's under the low, and that's it. I can establish a very clear game plan at that point. So what I need to see is Bitcoin give me a level where I start to gain confidence that the weekly higher low is set. ETH weekly is, I like the 2-week time frame on ETH and viewing it as a potential tightening range where we've got our high, higher low. Well, even that's not perfectly clear, but watching for a potential lower high. And then the question is, do we just tighten up within this range July and most of August? But the bears still have some proving to do. ETH is still holding a couple supports down here. 1825, 1816, both still holding. Bears want to take out those levels to follow through. And ETH BTC has to break this double top for us to say, Ethereum is gaining on Bitcoin, and it's the strongest it's been in the last month plus. So watch that double top, because again, that will be, if that double top breaks bull, for me, it will increase probabilities that ETH BTC is a weekly falling wedge. It's possible to break that daily level bull and still remain within the wedge, but that would make me more confident that's a falling wedge that will eventually break bull. So there's some altcoins that are standing out for me right now, and Doge has strength. We talked about this one on Friday's stream as well, the 12-hour ascending channel that we keep struggling at. But obviously the fact that we're green right now, clearly standing out. And my assumption is, with the Twitter rebrand to X getting the headlines and the attention, and Elon Musk talking about how, laugh or not, how half of the financial system will be on X at some point, whatever. But that's, in my opinion, why Doge is seeing this kind of relative strength. But it's still struggling at this uptrend resistance. We've got a nice hourly equilibrium here, where I'm viewing this as a low, high, higher low, lower high, higher low trying to form. Then we'll scout the lower high. Possible we tighten up for another 6-8 hours. And we're positioned well where if Bitcoin can break the hourly stair step and get an hourly bounce going, Doge will likely head up back into the middle of this potential equilibrium range. XRP is heading to key support here. So we knew, again, just most likely scenarios. I haven't been trading XRP. It's not on Coinbase. But we knew that XRP, the most likely scenario on this bounce, was a daily lower high because of the amount of the retracement size. Now we're testing daily support, and that's at 668. And the bulls have to confirm a 4-hour trend change back in their favor if we're going to have any confidence that that level can hold. So these bulls, look at 4-hour EMA 12. Rejection, 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 rejection. Heading up towards it. Have to get over 4-hour EMA 12 for the first indication that a daily higher low is potentially shaping up. Aggressive bulls are watching for a bottom fish. But we have to keep in mind that even if we do hold that level, we will just be looking for another daily lower high. And XLM is the same setup, but stronger. What makes it stronger? We're way above support. Same tightening range. Again, most likely scenario. You just play the zoom out game, one time frame at a time. We were watching the 15-minute tightening range after we topped out on the volume climax. Then we go to the hourly tightening range. Then the 4-hour, then the 12-hour. Now we're on the daily. And the most likely scenario for me is a higher low compared to 12.4 and a continued tightening range. But the burden is on bulls to prove to us that a daily higher low is shaping up. And I obviously have a lot more confidence that XLM is going to form a daily higher low than XRP, just because we have so much more space to work with. And one thing you can do is XLM USDT divided by XRP USDT, and you can see the strength there, where XLM has been stronger during this period of consolidation. It was weaker, on the move up and the majority of the time. But over these 4 days here, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, strength. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So keeping an eye out on tightening ranges, burden on bulls to set those daily higher lows. But again, aggressive bulls scouting those higher lows eventually will have nice clear equilibriums that will tell us, hey, volume and volatility are coming here. We're going to get a break within the next couple of days. Keep an eye out for a trade opportunity. And that would probably present itself next week if we get the daily higher low and keep tightening up this week. And Link, after the big bull daily candle, giving back the majority of the move, but it is heading towards 4-hour oversold conditions, and a daily higher low is the most likely scenario for me. Anything above 645. Ideally, the bulls want to hold daily EMA 12, which is being tested now. Hourly EMA 12 clear resistance guide. But a little bit of relative strength. Link BTC. Trying to set a daily higher low as well. So again, if I am keeping an eye out on bull names, I'm watching Doge. I'm watching XLM for the daily higher low. I'm watching Link for a daily higher low. And then there's plenty of bears. Every stream, every live stream for the last 2 weeks, I've ended with, don't forget, we're in longer term downtrends on the weekly time frame on all these names. And then we go through them. Sand, weekly lower high set off EMA 12 resistance rejection. Mana, same deal. ADA, not officially set yet, but struggling at weekly EMA 12. So again, there's just this whole list of names that are in weekly downtrends, setting those weekly lower highs. Sushi, weekly lower high set right off EMA 12. Sol's going to look for a weekly higher low. That's another name to keep on the bull list, not for the daily time frame, but for the weekly. Again, when you see this kind of move, we know weekly consolidation is inevitable after going 150%, and we know if it's going to be a longer-term bottom, we have to confirm a weekly uptrend. So this is where bulls want to hold the EMA back test here, set that weekly high or low, and have the bull cross take place. So just framing most likely scenarios, we know for me, Bitcoin, weekly high or low is the most likely scenario. So that means I can scout Sol for a weekly high or low. Certainly watching Bitcoin at the same time, knowing that I want Bitcoin to be shaping up the weekly high or low if I'm looking for Sol to be doing the same. And as far as all these weaker names, it's possible they hold the recent lows. You know, Sushi can absolutely be a bear flag to lower lows. But if I am a bear in positions, I definitely want to utilize a stop loss just in case, you know, we get the first weekly uptrend in many months. No sign of it, but again, I always want to protect against the unexpected. So real quick summary, scouting Bitcoin bears have complete control in the short term, scouting weekly high or lows in the crypto stocks, in Bitcoin, and in Sol. Watching for daily high or lows on XLM, maybe XRP, but bulls got to show up here and now, and Link. And as far as bear trades, I would be looking for 4-hour lower highs on the weaker names to be the result of the next bounce. RNDR is confirming this weekly head and shoulders we've been watching for a long time that took its sweet time before finally breaking. But as far as some of the weaker names here, again, Sand, tons of space for a 4-hour lower high. So determine, are you a shorter term trader trying to capitalize on 4-hour lower high bear entries? Are you looking and patiently waiting for weekly higher lows? And that can help eliminate a lot of the confusion in terms of what do I look for in a trade? Because if I'm looking for a weekly high or low, I know nothing matters to me. At the bare minimum, the 4-hour time frame is the most zoomed in that I'm going. And in reality, it's the daily that I care about. So maybe it's the 12-hour. Maybe the 12-hour is the most zoomed in I want to be if looking for a weekly high or low. So let's see what the bears can do with it. Let's see if they get any help from the FOMC reaction. Stock market overall still strong. And now I'm reading the chat room. Thanks for the likes and glad you're here. Howdy from Austria. ARB. Let's see where ARB stands. So another name where I would consider, for me, again, this little dinky pivot doesn't count as a high or low. For me, I'm viewing this all as the same move, and now we scout a weekly high or low, and know the bulls must confirm a weekly uptrend if we're going to have any confidence in the monthly high or low. So the bears have control of the daily downtrend, and we need the bulls to shape up a daily trend change in their favor for a weekly high or low to try and form. So just another name. I mean, it's the same concept as Bitcoin. Scouting a weekly high or low, bears in full control of the short term. You got it, Andre. BNB. Weak. I mean, that's a bear flag. So the simple statement when I see a chart like this is I just make the statement and say, if we do not break 262, it's a bear flag. And really, it's just a ton of sideways. You know, nothing's gone on for 6 weeks in Binance. And if it is a bear flag, then we're looking down at 220 and then 183. And that would be a monthly bear break as well. So BNB definitely not comfortable with where we stand on this weekly chart. And one thing you'll often see is a sideways trading like this, and then the EMA just drops down, and then once it comes into play, we kiss it and then roll over. That happens plenty of times. It happens in both directions. You know, bull break. Let's see if I can find a good one, but bull break, then we trade sideways. While that EMA, I mean, this was a pretty good one. So here's our big bull break, and now we're just sideways, and EMA catches up, and we're just kissing it, and then we get another leg up. So it's almost like the price just trades sideways, resets all the indicators, resets the RSI, waits to touch the EMA, and then follows through in that direction. Obviously not every time, but if Binance bulls don't prove anything to us, we will be looking for that bear flag. Why is it that MARA and Bitcoin don't correlate that much? They do. The factors for MARA are NASDAQ and Bitcoin. And MARA is going to get the most significant trending days when Bitcoin and the NASDAQ are going in the same direction. Right now, the NASDAQ is up 0.25% and has been going up for the last 4 hours, not massively. But, you know, we hit the low of the day on the morning. And we could say the NASDAQ has been recovering for the last 3 or 4 hours, and it is slightly green. And so that is against what Bitcoin is doing. And so it's a little bit of a tug of war. There's a bit less clarity when that tug of war is going on. And this concept applies to all markets. Like, it's been going on. We've had beautiful rotation in the stock market where tech is up and then tech consolidates and the financial sector breaks out. And we'll even have intra-sector rotation. You know, if Amazon's red and Apple is green, like today, that is a tug-of-war effect on the NASDAQ. And again, the most aggressive day trading, trending days are when you're not in tug-of-war. You have the wind going in the same direction for all major names. And so anytime I see the NASDAQ and Bitcoin going in opposite directions, I know it's likely not going to be a significant trending day for crypto stocks. Some days Bitcoin matters more than the NASDAQ. Some days the NASDAQ matters more than Bitcoin. And there's no real way to know in advance. You just got to be making the observations that tell you that's the case. MARA and Riot, relative low volume, yes, but also getting back to normalization. Because look at, you know, even back here, before this breakout, we were trading 28, 30, 35 million shares. And today is going to be, you know, 30 million shares traded, maybe a little bit less. But what you will often see is, to go along with periods of price action where you break out or break down and have high volume, then you get tightening ranges. And the most common volume during tightening ranges is just declining. And without even looking, I know XRP and XLM are doing that because I know they're tightening up. I mean, the volume's just dropping off while we tighten up, and then the tightening range will get a break, and then we'll see volume spike again. So I would say it's normal, and it's also a good sign. I mean, the bulls don't want to see increasing bear volume on the drop. But as we enter consolidation and a tightening range, we're going to look for that volume to continue to drop off. XRP is back on Coinbase, huh? No, not, is it? That was quick. Did they get it up right away? I knew they were going to. I assumed it would take a little while. Guess so. Thanks for the heads up. You're welcome, D Cypher. Thanks for the support. Looked at ARB already. You're welcome, Mark. XX network, new to me. I assume it's tiny volume. Yeah. Downtrend, long term, double bottom at 10 cents. That's a must hold level. Close to setting a weekly lower high. Have to confirm a weekly uptrend if we're going to have any confidence that the 10-cent double bottom can hold. But as far as dollar volume, it's not even a fraction of what I would need to look. The problem for me is, you know, obviously I want high volume for volatility and liquidity. But when I look at a coin like this, I could literally shape this chart. I'm one person. If I can shape a chart, there are 100,000 people that could make this chart look any way that they want. And I mean that just by saying, you know, today's total volume on this exchange is under $50,000. And for a lot of people trading crypto, $500,000 isn't a ton. So what someone could come in with $500,000 and do whatever they want on this chart. And I really don't like when that's the case. That's way too much power in an individual or a small group's hand. When you have high volume and high liquidity, you can't do that without massive capital. And so that limits the amount of, you know, people that can directly influence the chart on their own. KUJI. Just remember, guys, with all these coins, guys and gals, the vast majority are going to zero. So I know you got all the projects that you like, and it's a fun game and all that, but just know in terms of probabilities, and I know nothing about these projects. I just know that they're not on the major exchanges, and I've never heard of them. But just know that the probability that these coins are going to zero is 95%. So just think to yourself, what's the probability that I'm nailing the small percent chance that is going to be the coin that makes it? And I know for me personally, I don't have any confidence whatsoever that I'm going to pick those winners. So for Kuji, monthly consolidation's underway. We do have a monthly uptrend, higher low and higher high. But again, the volume is just $80,000 a day. And I know it's exciting to try and get the one so you can make 10 times your money. But again, it's just all probabilities. And if you want to play with a small amount of capital and play that lottery game, that's fine. But so many people in this space put way more of their net worth into these names than they should. And that's why so many people get absolutely smashed in crypto. So we're in a daily and weekly downtrend. And we're looking for a monthly high or low, but we have to see a weekly trend change shape up. But again, I look at this chart. You know, I don't have an edge in technical analysis on that weekly chart. We are in a daily downtrend, lower high, lower low. So 6742 is support. Already went over XRP. I don't ever use log charts. I mean, if something is absolutely massively exponential, I'll flip it back and forth just to compare. But I haven't done that in a very long time. Man, all these, you guys are out with the tiny coins today. Caspa. I mean, just this chart is just so gross. Like, what is going to stop this from going to zero? So weekly resistance, rejecting from EMA 12, anything under 21.3. It's just a weekly lower high, and we're heading back down to all-time low support. 15.22, 14.18. I guess that's not all time. Yep, no, that might be all-time low. Supply of coins is vastly exceeding demand for coins. And it's all right if you got to learn the lesson of holding bags and watching it go to zero. Everybody does. I did it with penny stocks 12 years ago. And I've accepted, as I teach people, people pay me to teach them how to trade, and I can tell them, you got to use a stop loss, you can't be holding the bag, and they'll still not listen to me. And I just accept it after a certain point. People have to feel it and learn the lesson on their own. I can't just tell them that's not enough. Gotta feel the pain. The key is, once you feel that pain, you do not ever do it again. That's the only way that you're going to succeed in this game. longer term. The only reason I took profit in crypto 2017, I took profit in cannabis 2018, I took profit in crypto 2021. The only reason I did that was because I had the bag holder pain. I've done it before. I will never do it again. And so it is a powerful lesson. I mean, the amount I lost bag holding has saved me 100x in profits from that lesson. Naka USDT. At least this one's got an uptrend. So we're looking for a weekly higher low. We're watching EMA 12. We are in a daily downtrend. Have to watch for a daily downtrend to change to a daily uptrend, whether it's a falling wedge, whether it's an inverse head and shoulders, whatever it is. We're watching for a weekly higher low and likely need to see Bitcoin shaping up that weekly higher low as well. Tron. Nice big spike, but gave it all back. So whenever you see the bull break with no follow through, you got to start being cautious of the rising wedge. So again, it's not game over for the bulls, but it just means pay attention to the possibility of a rising wedge. We are still in a daily uptrend. Key support is down at 789 or 788. So if we hold that level, bulls keep the uptrend going. But we also have a ton of space now for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. And just looking back historically, you know, what happens after these spikes? Certainly bulls don't want to see another one of these. So a little short squeeze, nobody left to go long, no shorts left to be forced out, and gave it all back. So bulls need a 4-hour trend change back in their favor. If we get it, a daily higher low is set, and then we scout a daily lower high to be the result of that bounce, and then it's just a question of, can bears confirm a daily downtrend to try and enter weekly consolidation, and then we watch for a weekly higher low to try and form compared to the sixes. Is PIVX good to invest? So you just use the word invest, which means fundamentals. And I don't know anything about the fundamentals of this coin. If you're going to invest in something, you have to understand dilution. You've got to understand, can this project create more coins? I mean, it's just like the dollar. So many of these altcoins can make coins whenever they want, and they just dilute the supply. It's what the reason we got interested in crypto is because they're doing that with the dollar. And so you have to know in the white paper and in the, you know, the fundamentals of the coin, is that possible or is it a fixed supply? If it's not a fixed supply, then you're just going to see supply increase. And if demand is not increasing, the price is going to drop. So PIVX, monthly lower high heading towards support. 15.2 is a must hold. If 15.2 breaks, we're back in a monthly downtrend. So we had a bull move, a higher low, lower high, and now we're trying to hold support. So 15.2 is key. All right, we're going back to some larger market cap coins. ADA, weekly inside bar. 3 weeks in a row struggling at EMA 12. If it breaks bear, we will watch for a weekly higher low to try and form compared to 22. There is a good amount of space for a weekly higher low compared to 22, but the bulls have proving to do here. So just like Bitcoin, we're going to look for a weekly higher low on ADA, but the simple statement is, if we do not break 38 cents, the bears keep full long-term confidence. Again, you look at this chart. You know, I can be an ADA bull. I can love the project. But I have to put on my bear glasses. And I look at this chart and say, if I'm a bear, do I have anything to worry about being in a position right now? And the answer is no. It's an extremely comfortable chart for a bear to be in. So you have to see things develop on the longer term time frames that change that. Thanks, Ray McGee, for the like pushing. I mean, Caspa is going to be the same thing as far as volume, but at least it is an uptrend. It's got a couple million. At least there's a couple million. So key resistance, 427, we're rejecting from it. It will be a red flag if we lose the daily uptrend. You know, an initial rejection, pulling back and holding the daily uptrend, no big deal. But if you lose the daily uptrend, then that rejection then becomes a lot more convincing. So key support is 326. And let's watch and see, do bulls buy first hourly oversold? Do backburners keep working to show demand? So daily uptrend, EMA 12 support, and key long-term resistance test. Also the possibility of a cup and handle like pattern, but got to keep consolidation healthy. Got to keep that retracement minimal. So yes, a rejection from resistance, but no major red flags as we are still in a daily uptrend and certainly stronger than Bitcoin. How much capital as a percentage of my portfolio would I risk on a single trade? The setup matters. My conviction of the setup matters. But it's way less. You know, I watched a video on the cannabis space from 2018. And I was talking about my account being all in. And I was like, man, I wouldn't put 20% of my account in anything these days. And it's a bigger account than it was back then. But it's just a different mindset. Blue sky breakout euphoria, capitalizing aggressively on it versus more conservative. But right now, I mean, if I think of it, you know, as my trading capital as a whole, I'm only risking, you know, a solid risk would be like 0.3%. And I know for many people that's not realistic. It all depends on your account size. You know, if my account size was $30,000 like it was in 2016, then I would risk maybe, you know, 1% on a trade. But once you size up to a certain point, again, it all depends on your goals. But I'm in conservative mode. My mindset with trading right now is I won the game and I'm not giving anything back. And I want to just keep putting icing on my cake with small amounts. So, you know, if I had $30,000 and I was early 20s again, and going for it, I would have much more risk tolerance to try and grow the account. You got it, Meta. Preserve and grow capital, manage risk, waiting for the setups in your plan. So the next time I will go aggressive is going to be cannabis. You know, when cannabis reschedules or we get a federal catalyst, I will go aggressive in cannabis, and I plan on making a year's worth of gains in a month. So I've got it, you know, in advance. I know what I'm looking for as far as a catalyst, and then I'll let the, you know, technicals determine my entries, my stop losses, my position sizes, and all that. But that's just a fundamental zoomed out view of the next time I go aggressive, that's going to be it. Lost trade that I took recently. So today, I mean, just MARA had a triple top at the high of the day. Someone in the chat room requested analysis on it. I looked at it and said, oh, there's a triple top. I shorted at 1645. I covered half at 1638. So now my break even, I want to make sure I got these numbers right so I'm not a liar. So shorted 1644, covered half at 1639. So what's my break even now? I made 5 cents of gain on half a position. So I add 5 cents to 1644. My break even is 1649. And then I knew I had this live stream coming up. So I just stuck my stop at 1650. And so I stopped out and I lost. I call it a taco loser. It's an insignificant amount. A tiny, pretty much break even. I count that as a break even trade. Technically, it was a small amount of red, but there's a red trade. All right, I got to wrap it up soon. Doing an end of the day stock stream. What time of option trade is recommended during the FOMC meeting? I don't mean to be discouraging. You should not be trading options on an FOMC day. If you are not a 6 to 8 year trading veteran, you should not go near options on an FOMC day, on earnings. It's gambling. And if you are that 6 to 8 year trading veteran, then you're obviously not asking me that question. So I know it's exciting. I know you want to hit it big. But again, it's just not the way to play this game. To be able to play this game long term and have it work for you in your financial life. I just got to be blunt. I have been trading for 13 years. I would not trade an option on an FOMC day. Professional full-time trader wouldn't do it. It's again, we just have to have the edges in our favor. We're gambling. We are gambling, clicking buttons, and hoping that the outcome is in our favor. We can have edges in our favor during, certain setups and trends and all that, but we have to have an edge. If we don't have a clear edge, we will lose at this game long term, guaranteed. That's why casinos let you go play blackjack against the house, because they've got a 51% edge or whatever it is. They lose a ton of the time, but they win more. If you do not have the edge, you will lose in this game long term. So how do you get an edge? Through putting in thousands of hours of work. Tips for not overtrading in the slower summer afternoon equilibriums. Leave the computer. You gotta. I overtrade if I sit at the computer. Even if you're in a trade, set your stop and get off the computer. Come back in a couple hours if you need to. Do something else. Just an example, QQQ today. Look at this 5-minute candle on QQQ right here. This had as large of a range as this 3-hour period of trading. So during this, I am not taking trades. And if I am, it's a tiny risk trade like MARA. Let's see if Bitcoin's reacting to the NASDAQ drop. Nope. Do I hold anything for dividend? I've got SPY long-term, no touch, Microsoft. I did some buying during the bear market last year. So I was buying SPY. And again, I wasn't nailing bottoms. I think my cheapest SPY buys were 10% off the lows. So I was buying SPY. I bought Microsoft 10% off the low, I think. Again, if you're going long term and cycle bottoms, you don't have to nail. I bought Microsoft here. So that was 9% off the lows. I bought J&J on the weekly stair-step bull break back here. I don't know anything about the fundamentals of J&J. I saw a technical setup, and I entered, and I put my stop under the low and said, you know, if that's the fear low, I'm going to hold it long term, and if it's not, I'll stop out. And so still in that position. I got Chinese name. Those aren't investments. That's definitely a swing trade mindset. But Microsoft and SPY are really the only positions I'm attempting to hold real long term. All right. Appreciate you all tuning in. Thanks again for the likes. We've only got 98. I know there's 2 of you out there that will fix that. And thanks for the shares. We'll repost the webinar from last week in the near term. We'll make it public, talking about the trading journey and expectations, because again, you know, I get messages. It's been 6 months. I'm not consistently trading. What am I doing wrong? You shouldn't be consistent after 6 months. So we have to get our expectations in line with the reality of this game. Yes, there are opportunities where we can level up in a big way quickly. Those opportunities happen every few years. And in the meantime, it's preserve your capital and educate yourself to be prepared for those opportunities when they present themselves, and ensure that you have edges in your favor, because otherwise you're just gambling. Hope everyone is well. Thanks again, and do good things.